Hey, Leap Inspire family. Have you ever felt a spark so intense it turned your world upside down, pulling you into a storm of passion, pain, and unexpected hope? Imagine a young woman, standing in the shadows of a grand mansion, her heart racing for a man she can never have, yet daring to dream of a love that defies all odds. This is Sweet's story, a housemaid whose forbidden romance with her boss, Max, led to heartbreak, redemption, and a family she never imagined. Stick with me for this 15-minute journey, because it's a roller coaster of emotions that'll show you how love, even when it starts wrong, can lead to something beautifully right if you're brave enough to leap. Sweet stood at the threshold of the sprawling mansion, her worn suitcase clutched tightly, her heart a mix of nerves and determination. She'd left her small village in the countryside to take a job as a housemaid for a wealthy businessman named Max, hoping to send money home to her mother, Elsa. Mrs. Rosa, the warm but firm housekeeper, led her to a modest room tucked at the end of a long hallway. "This is yours, Sweet," Mrs. Rosa said, her eyes kind. "Mr. Max is a busy man, but fair. Do your work well, and you'll fit right in." Sweet nodded, her voice soft but earnest. "Thank you, Mrs. Rosa. I need this job for my mom." "I won't let you down." As she unpacked her few belongings, a photo of her mother, a faded scarf, a notebook of dreams, she felt a flicker of hope. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment she met Max, a moment that would set her heart on a path she never expected. Mrs. Rosa opened the heavy oak doors to the living room, and there he was, Max, tall and commanding, his broad shoulders filling out a crisp white shirt, the top buttons undone, revealing a glimpse of his toned chest. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead as he focused on his laptop, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Mr. Max, this is Sweet, the new housemaid," Mrs. Rosa announced. Max looked up, and their eyes locked. Sweet's breath hitched. His gaze was piercing, a mix of curiosity and something unreadable. "Sweet?" he said, his voice smooth, one eyebrow raised as he scanned her from head to toe. Her cheeks flushed under his scrutiny. "Yes, sir," she stammered. "Thank you for this opportunity." He smirked, a playful glint in his eyes. "No problem. Just do your job well, and we'll get along fine." His tone was casual, but his stare lingered, making her heart pound. "Relax, I don't bite," he added, chuckling. Sweet swallowed hard, trying to ignore the warmth spreading through her chest. It was just a job, she told herself, but the air between them already felt charged, like the calm before a storm. Days blended into weeks, and Sweet settled into her routine. Dusting chandeliers, polishing marbled floors, and keeping the mansion spotless. But Max was impossible to ignore. She catch herself watching him, his confidence stride across the foyer, the way his lips curled during heated phone calls, or how his laugh filled the room when he spoke with the staff. Each glance felt like a stolen moment, a dangerous thrill. One afternoon, while sweeping the living room, she sensed eyes on her. Looking up, she found Max on the staircase, his gaze intense. Their eyes met, and her face burned. "Sweet," he called, descending with a grin that made her stomach flip. "Have you been staring at me?" Her broom nearly slipped from her hands. "No, sir, I was just cleaning," she blurted, mortified. He laughed, a low, warm sound. "Sure you were. It's fine, no rule against looking." His teasing left her flustered, her heart screaming to stop, but her feelings only grew, pulling her deeper into a forbidden attraction. Sweet tried to focus on her work, but Max's presence was a constant pull. He'd brush past her in the hallway, his arm grazing hers, or flash a smile that felt too personal. She scolded herself daily. He's your boss. He's out of your league. Yet, the more she tried to resist, the stronger the pull became. One evening, as she tidied the library, Max entered, a glass of whiskey in hand. "You're always working late," he said, leaning against a bookshelf. "Don't you ever rest?" Sweet's hands trembled as she dusted a shelf. "I like staying busy, sir," she replied, avoiding his gaze. He stepped closer, his voice low. "You don't have to call me sir when it's just us." Her heart raced, but she forced a smile. "Yes, Mr. Max." He chuckled, shaking his head. "You're something else, Sweet." The way he said her name sent shivers down her spine, and she knew she was in trouble. The turning point came one stormy night. Sweet was wiping down a coffee table in the dimly lit living room when Max stumbled in, his steps unsteady, his eyes glassy from too much wine. "Sweet," he slurred, leaning against the wall. "People are such a mess, aren't they?" Concern washed over her. "Mr. Max, are you okay?" she asked, rushing to steady him as he swayed. He leaned heavily on her shoulder, mumbling, "Why do they always leave?" She guided him up the grand staircase to his room, his arms slung over her, his warmth seeping into her skin. As she helped him sit on his bed, she said gently, "Sir, you need to rest." But before she could leave, Max grabbed her wrist, his grip desperate. "Don't go. Please don't leave me," he pleaded, his voice raw with pain. Sweet's heart pounded. "Sir, you're drunk," she whispered, but his eyes, red and vulnerable, held hers. "What did I do to you? Why did you leave me?" He murmured, clearly lost in a memory. She realized he wasn't talking to her. He was seeing someone else. Before she could pull away, Max tugged her closer, his lips crashing into hers. The kiss was soft, warm, and full of yearning, igniting every nerve in her body. Sweet's mind screamed to stop, but her heart, which had longed for him, melted into the moment. "Just stay," he whispered, his hands tracing her cheek, her neck, her shoulders. She tried to resist, murmuring, "This isn't right, sir." But her voice was weak. Their bodies pressed closer, the heat between them undeniable. Max's lips explored her skin, each touch electric, and Sweet surrendered, lost in a haze of desire. "You're mine tonight," he growled, his voice low and seductive. She gasped as he moved with purpose, their connection deepening in the glow of the moonlight. Pain gave way to pleasure, and for those fleeting hours, Sweet felt like she belonged to him. But as Max collapsed beside her, whispering "Belle," in his sleep, her heart shattered. He hadn't been with her, he'd been with a ghost. Morning light brought harsh reality. Sweet woke in a panic, the sheets tangled around her, memories of the night flooding back. Max's drunken whispers echoed in her mind. He called out for Belle, not her. She dressed quickly, her hands shaking, and slipped out to the living room, where Max sat sipping coffee, unaffected. "You're awake," he said, barely glancing up. "I'm sorry about last night, sir," she began, her voice trembling. He cut her off. "Wait for me in my office later." Her stomach churned as she went through her chores, the weight of his indifference crushing her. In his office, Max's words were cold. "Last night was a mistake. I was drunk." Sweet's heart sank, but worse was to come. "I have a fiancée, Belle, though she left years ago," he said. "But I have an offer. Be my personal stress relief." No strings, no emotions, just physical. Sweet's breath caught, her mind screaming to refuse, but her heart, still tethered to him, whispered a dangerous hope. "Maybe he'll see me one day." "I agree, sir," she whispered, sealing her fate. Their arrangement began, a secret dance of stolen nights and distant days. By day, Sweet was the diligent maid. By night, she was Max's escape. She tried to keep her heart locked away, but his touch, his rare smiles, chipped away at her resolve. Over time, Max's demeanor softened. He'd linger after their moments together, asking about her life. "Do you still have family?" he asked one night, lying beside her. Surprised, Sweet replied, "My mom in the countryside. I send her money." He nodded, as if storing the detail. Another night, he asked, "Did you have a boyfriend before?" She hesitated. "A long time ago. We broke up years ago." Max's jaw tightened. "Why?" he pressed, breaking his own rule against personal questions. Sweet deflected. "I thought we weren't supposed to ask about personal lives." He frowned but didn't push further, leaving her wondering if he cared, or if Belle still held his heart. The illusion shattered when Sweet discovered she was pregnant. Staring at the positive test, her world tilted. She was carrying Max's child, a man who loved another. Fear gripped her. Would he reject her? Throw her out? She resolved to tell him, standing outside his room, the test clutched in her trembling hand. But before she could knock, the door swung open, revealing a stunning woman in a sleek dress, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Belle, Max's ex-fiancée, returned from abroad. Belle's eyes narrowed at the test in Sweet's hand. "You're pregnant with Max's child," she shrieked, grabbing Sweet's hair. "You seduced my fiancé." Sweet winced, shielding her stomach. "You left him," she cried, but Belle's words cut deeper. "You're just a maid, a substitute. He'll never love you." Defeated, Sweet fled, Belle's taunts and the staff's whispers trailing her. She's the reason he treated her differently. Mrs. Rosa offered help, but Sweet shook her head. "Don't tell him," she said, boarding a bus to the countryside, tears falling as she clutched the test. In her mother's small home, Sweet collapsed into Elsa's arms. "I'm pregnant, Mom," she sobbed. Elsa held her tightly, no judgment, only love. "This baby is a gift," she said. "We'll face this together." Sweet vowed to raise her child alone, unaware that Max had returned to the mansion, expecting to find her. Instead, he found Belle berating a maid. "You kicked Sweet out?" he roared, learning of the pregnancy. Banishing Belle, he found Sweet's note. "Our arrangement is over. I'm leaving." His heart broke. He'd fallen for her, but never said it. Determined, Max tracked her to the countryside, respecting Elsa's request to stay distant during Sweet's pregnancy. He sent anonymous gifts. Snacks, vitamins, clothes, ensuring her comfort while quietly warding off suitors, his love growing in silence. Months later, Sweet went into labor, delivering quadruplets, 3 boys and a girl. Max rushed to the hospital, overwhelmed to learn he was a father of 4. Sitting by Sweet's bedside, he whispered, "I love you." But a visitor, Jonas, Sweet's old friend, sparked tension. "I'm the father," Max declared, but Jonas challenged him. "You don't own her." Sweet woke, rejecting Max's proposal. "Go back to Belle," she said, her heart scarred. Jonas later visited, offering support, but Sweet confessed, "I love Max. I want our children to have their father." Jonas stepped back, and Max, determined, stayed by her side, probing his love through actions, caring for the babies, building a beachside home. Their bond grew as they navigated parenthood. Max's tenderness with Luke, Liam, Levi, and Amara softened Sweet's heart. One night, under the stars, she teased, "Propose again, and I might say yes." Max knelt instantly, and she accepted, tears streaming. At their wedding, Sweet walked down the aisle, no longer a maid but Max's equal. "You're my greatest love," he vowed. Guests marveled at their quadruplets, and Sweet felt a happiness she'd never dreamed possible. In their new home, Max rocked the babies to sleep as Sweet watched, her heart full. "I'd do it all again," he whispered, "to have you." Sweet nestled into him. "I love you more," she replied. From a maid's fleeting dream to a wife and mother, Sweet's story proved that love, born from pain, could bloom into a life beyond imagination. Years passed, and the once silent house buzzed with laughter. Sweet sat in the garden, watching Liam and Luke stack blocks while I never thought I'd have this, she said, squeezing his hand. I felt unlovable, but you changed that. Max knelt, his eyes soft. You're my everything, Sweet. As the babies fussed, he scooped them up, making airplane noises until they giggled. That night, as they lay with their children between them, Max whispered, You were my answered prayer. Sweet smiled. Her journey from a maid's room to a loving home proved that even the hardest leaps could lead to love's greatest rewards.